Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter, of course, at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Wednesday's edition of the dceu Daily. And wow, have I got a few updates for you today. And at the end of the video, we are going to discuss my brand new General Zod Faora Supergirl theory. And I can't believe we've been sleeping on this one. Of course, this is all about the Flash movie. But let's begin with a fully packed edition of the dceu Daily. Restore the Snyderverse trends after HBO Max video calls it a global phenomenon. Just for HBO Max and Warner Media to be calling the Snyder Cut a global phenomenon is huge, because a few months ago they were hiding the numbers and nobody really wanted to admit that this movie was a global phenomenon, was one of the greatest CBMs ever made, and was probably the most successful streaming event of all time, because there were issues between Snyder and WB Pictures. But something has changed in the last few months. But what is that? We'll discuss this after we read this article from Screen Rant and Paul Sherritt. Restore the Snyderverse trends after an HBO Max video calls Zack Snyder's Justice League a global phenomenon during the HBO Max Europe event. Restore the Snyderverse is trending once again after HBO Max calls Zack Snyder's Justice League a global phenomenon. Released earlier this year on HBO Max, Zack Snyder's Justice League is the ultimate vision of the filmmaker who famously left the film during post-production due to a family tragedy, leaving WB to hire director Joss Whedon to film reshoots and restructure the movie into a very different vision than what Snyder intended. In 2020, it was announced that Snyder would be given the opportunity and budget to finish his vision of the film for release on HBO Max. After finishing VFX and shooting some additional scenes, Snyder's vision was released on HBO Max on March the 18th, 2021, giving fans who long rallied for the film's release their due. The 4-hour epic, which was broken down into 6-chapter breaks, represented not only the power of Snyder's vision, but of his many fans who helped fight for it. Since its release, both WB and HBO Max have been tight-lipped on the reception and performance of the film, perplexing fans, critics and journalists alike of the lack of details shared post-release, as the streamer typically acknowledges some form of measurement once the film debuts there. So we know they were hiding the numbers. I told you quite a few months ago that I exclusively had a look at the numbers. And I can tell you now, and like I told you then, huge, the biggest streaming event of all time. And the Blu-rays, DVDs and 4Ks, huge sales. I will be as bold as to say that Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut is the most successful film of 2021 and made more money for Warner Brothers than Shang-Chi and Black Widow put together. That's what I'm telling you, because I've seen the numbers. Now, for the first time, HBO Max has publicly addressed Zack Snyder's Justice League, calling it a global phenomenon. That statement comes from Priya Dogra, president of Warner Media Entertainment Networks for Europe, the Middle East and Africa and Asia Pacific, who is part of today's HBO Max Europe event, a showcase put on by the streamer as it prepares to launch their platform overseas. Dogra introduced a number of films and series from the streaming service, calling HBO Max the home of DC before highlighting Zack Snyder's Justice League. This in turn has caused the Restore the Snyderverse hashtag to resurface and trend on Twitter. Not that it ever went away, did it? Just as it did after the release of the film in March. Check out the full Max Nordic video where the comment derives from below. We're not going to check that video out, you've all seen it anyway. After its initial release, WB's Ann Sarnoff said in an interview that the company had considered Snyder's trilogy now complete and had no intention of continuing it, let alone calls to release director David Ayer's similar cut of 2016's Suicide Squad. And let's talk about Suicide Squad briefly, because it's pretty obvious we're getting the Ayer cut. Probably going to be announced either at HBO, either going to be announced at Fandom or later on this year, or maybe even next year. It's going to happen. This is proof that what Ann Sarnoff said in the Variety article no longer stands. Something is changing at Warner Brothers, and I think I know what it is. Fan reactions to Zack Snyder's Justice League was tremendous, and calls continued to show up for him to be able to continue his work on his originally planned 3-part Justice League films. Snyder has since signed a deal with Netflix to develop spin-offs of his Army of the Dead franchise, as well as a sci-fi action film Rebel Moon, so it's unlikely he'd return to the Snyderverse anytime soon. Well, it's like this, Paul. No, he can't. He's agreed to do something else. He can't just drop that and come over and finish the Snyderverse, but I think he's filming Rebel Moon next year. After that's done, he could start, if he was allowed, on his Justice League movies. I think that could happen, which is something he's echoed recently, saying that WB has been aggressively anti-Snyder since he came on board to finish his cut of Justice League. Well, Zack, I love you, dude, but I think you were anti-WB and they were anti-Snyder. I think both of you should have checked your behaviour. Let me be clear about this. The behaviour of both director and studio during the build-up and thereafter the release of the film wasn't good, and you ruined our enjoyment of the hype. We earned this. We earned this release. We fought for it. It's a wonderful movie. And you spoiled that celebration, both you, Zack, and the studio. You are like a couple of children who need your heads knocking together. You, Zack, you, WB, and you, Ray Fisher. And that's all I'll say about that. I love Zack Snyder. I love his DC movies, but the guy doesn't walk on water. Simple as that. Nobody does. While some may see fans rallying behind a hashtag, a lost cause, or even attempt to liken it to a toxicity, there's no denying that the same fan support outside of the negative aspects, of course, absolutely helped make Zack Snyder's Justice League finally come to fruition. So there's always the same potential if they're vocal enough to support it continuing. Hollywood is a business after all, and if fans are putting their money in one place, then Hollywood is sure to go there. Whether this latest trend does anything to move the needle on that front is yet to be seen. But if the Snyder Cut fanbase has shown anything, it's that they won't go quietly or without a fight. Well, we're not going to go anywhere. We're not. You're not, I'm not. We know that. I've told you before, I'm watching Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut every evening as I lay in bed. It's a phenomenal film. It is a global phenomenon. But what's changing at WB? Well, two things. Andy Muschietti in the Flash movie and David Zaslav as Discovery. David and Discovery are coming to take over one of the biggest businesses and studios entertainment concerns in the world. And we know that there will be big changes at WB. David has said it himself. He's talking to people inside of Warner Brothers, but mostly outside of Warner Brothers. And everyone is telling him the treatment of Snyder was despicable, that he's a genius, and he should have a little corner somewhere in the DC live action universe to work in. This is going to happen. Now, it's true, Ann Sarnoff did that big hit piece for Variety, but things have changed. Things have thawed quite considerably. Thawed enough to get David Ayer's Aircut to be released either by the end of this year or the beginning of next. The Aircut will be released, but this is huge. Huge, my friends, to think that this was a studio who was saying no to restore the Snyderverse after it trended over 1 million tweets after the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. They're calling it a global phenomenon. Now, something I want to tell you about Warner Brothers Nordic and Warner Media Nordic, they're quite supportive. There are elements of Warner Brothers internationally that are quite proud to support Snyder's work. So Warner Brothers Pictures are not those people, but all the other corners of Warner Brothers and Warner Media and AT&T are quite supportive of Zack. We will restore the Snyderverse, we will see the Aircut, and Zack eventually, after Rebel Moon, will come back to finish his 2 movies. Right. And partially, Andy Muschietti has got to get credit from this. He's fought for Zack's vision in the continuation of the DC live action universe. And we're going to see a lot of elements from Zack's Justice League visions in those movies. So this is a progressive step forward. We should be extremely happy. Warner Brothers have now seen the money they've made. They're working it out. And eventually they're going to have to tell us. They're going to have to make it public. And all I can say is, as Paul said in the article, Hollywood, go where the money is. And the money, partially for live action DC, is with the Snyderverse. So keep fighting. This is a very, very good progressive step in the right direction. James Gunn's best DCEU future after Peacemaker, not Suicide Squad 3. Writer-director James Gunn should focus on a Harley Quinn standalone film rather than a third Suicide Squad after production wraps on Peacemaker by Michael Killam of Screen Rant. James Gunn could end up playing a major role in shaping the future of the DCEU. I thought this as well, but I think his role is going to be very minimal, and I think his future is on HBO Max. That's just my opinion, because I think we can see now that the Suicide Squad IP is not fit for purpose. It's not a $1 billion entity. It's not a 500 million entity. So it's made a lot of money for HBO Max via the day and date, but I don't think this guy is going to be shaping the big picture, but he will have a little role to play in the future of the DC live action universe. But his next major project after Peacemaker should focus on bringing Harley Quinn to the main event, rather than another entry in the Suicide Squad series, brought to life by the incomparable Margot Robbie. Dr. Harleen Quinzel was first introduced in the 2016 Suicide Squad film, written and directed by David Ayer. And I will say this, Ayer's vision, or whoever put together the Suicide Squad cinematic theatrical release, did a great job with Harley, and so did Margot. That's my favourite version of Harley Quinn, which explored the character's complicated romantic history with the Joker. Since then, she's had the chance to lead her own group of anti-heroes in Cathy Yan's Birds of Prey, which didn't do overly well at the box office, and while the wounds may still be somewhat fresh, Harley's split from Mr. J has allowed her to stand on her own 2 feet as one of the franchise's best characters, but her past 2 theatrical movies haven't done very well. So this theory that she's so popular doesn't bear fruit, and she is so popular. There are a group of people who are Harley stans. I just don't believe Harley stans can make a Harley movie the money it needs, and I think they go and support her movies, but very few other people do, and there lies the problem. My favourite versions of Harley Quinn are in Batman the Animated Series and in the Harley Quinn animated series over on HBO Max. Now that actress is my favourite Harley Quinn, and that is faithful to what Bruce Timm created, more than what we've seen in live action thus far, in my opinion. As a writer, director and producer, Gunn has made a career out of bringing misfits to life and has certainly left his mark on the world of comic book movies. He's currently hard at work heading up the DCEU's upcoming Peacemaker series with John Cena, following the pairing's success in the Suicide Squad, one of the franchise's most universally praised endeavours by critics and fans alike. Gunn was, of course, at the helm of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy as well as its 2017 sequel, and continued to bring those characters into the spotlight as an executive producer for both Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. And while the film is rarely talked about, Gunn also directed the incredibly uncomfortable 2010 black comedy Super. Actually, it's talked about by the people who love it. Actually, that actually is a film a lot of people love, starring Rainey Wilson and Elliot Page, formerly Ellie Page. Is that what he used to be called? I think we'll skip over that. I don't know enough. While the members of the Justice League will likely always be DCEU's heavy hitters, it could be argued that Harley Quinn is the real heart and soul of the Hollywood franchise. You're wrong. Let's just reread that. While the members of the Justice League will likely always be DCEU's heavy hitters, it could be argued that Harley Quinn is the real heart and soul of the Hollywood franchise. No, I disagree. Her movies have run the gauntlet in terms of differing critical reviews, but Margot Robbie has not missed in the role a single time. Even Gal Gadot's unshakable Wonder Woman, who seemingly could do no wrong following the overwhelming success of the character's first solo film, hit a stumbling block thanks to a lackluster sequel. Well, now hang on a minute. Wonder Woman 84 is a lackluster sequel. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn is also a stumble. And I actually thought we were going to get a much better version of Harley Quinn, aka Margot Robbie, with James Gunn. And I wasn't overly impressed. She's okay, but I'm still saying the first Suicide Squad movie is the best live-action version of Harley, in my opinion. Despite being a certifiably insane supervillain, there is just something about Harley that fans are drawn to. She's an important character that obviously brings in a lot of money. Well, for Warner Brothers, well, that's not true. Now, the first Suicide Squad film made nearly $800 million, but the other two theatrical movies she's been in haven't done very well at the box office. There's the fact. So this is actually not true. Saying about Harley that fans are drawn to. She's an important character that obviously brings in a lot of money for Warner Brothers in merchandising alone. Okay, with merchandising that's true. And with proper support from the studio. A director as notable as James Gunn has the potential to make her just as big of a household name as some of today's biggest DC or Marvel superstars. The DCEU has struggled with consistency since its inception. Well, look, if you just want to talk about box office and critical and fan reaction, that's fine. But the DCEU has made some fabulous pictures. And if we talk about DC live action since 2013, we got Man of Steel, BVS, which I love, Joker, awesome movie, Suicide Squad, which is okay, Wonder Woman, which is awesome, the Snyder Cut, which is awesome, Aquaman, which is awesome, Shazam, which is great for families and kids. That's a lot of movies. That's not inconsistency. Anyway, with consistency since its inception, which has made it difficult to predict exactly which of its films are going to succeed at the box office. Don't care about the box office. The poor reaction to the enormously hyped Batman v Superman after such a colossal promotional push more than likely had an effect on Justice League's disappointing numbers. You mean apart from the fact that it was a rushed, reshot, absolute clusterfuck, nothing to do with anything else, but that, they got it wrong. While Aquaman shocked everyone by grossing over $1 billion worldwide, David F. Sandberg's Shazam was potentially the riskiest solo film for the studio, but in 2021 is still tied with Gunn's The Suicide Squad for the franchise's second best rated film on Rotten Tomatoes. The moral being that the DC, look, forget about Rotten Tomatoes and box office. That's not where films truly win and fail. Anyway, could stand to take itself less seriously, and Harley Quinn is the perfect character to help spotlight what makes these movies work. Listen, I don't think the future of DC live action is just comedy and bright colours, or just darkness and compelling stories. It's a bit of both. Gunn's understanding of the Harley character and her evolution from 2016 till now, as well as his ability to take more aesthetic Marvel characters like the Guardians of the Galaxy and evolve them into stars worthy of the highest grossing movie franchise of all time, points towards why he's well equipped for the specific task. Robbie steals every scene she occupies while also managing to elevate her fellow performers. Why don't you ask the actresses who played the Birds of Prey if they agree with that, right? I don't think so. And in some cases has even proven she can elevate a bad screenplay. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's time Warner Brothers returned the favour and gave Harley Quinn her own A-list feature with the full force of a Batman-level promotional push. And there are few better directors equipped to tackle that challenge than her squad leader, James Gunn, as soon as he wraps Peacemaker and the Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3 that is. Don't like this article, I don't like your take. It's well written, but I don't like your take, mate, and I'll tell you why. James Gunn's reputation is a little bit tarnished now since those tweets were released, and even though it's all forgive and forget, and I don't really care about the tweets at the end of the day, they weren't great tweets, and they're not funny things to joke about, but at the end of the day, I don't care, I don't moralise everything, I want to see great movies. I like the Suicide Squad. James Gunn's the Suicide Squad. But the man is a one-trick pony. He does make similar types of films. No one can argue with that. And his Harley in the Suicide Squad is okay, but I don't think she's the best live-action version that we've seen. If Gunn is going to make a Harley Quinn feature, it'll probably be a movie on HBO Max. It wouldn't surprise me, because I think even Warner Brothers must agree now that maybe Harley Quinn, unless someone does something extremely special. But what's weird about this whole situation, they have their Harley Quinn's creator, father, Bruce Timm, they're at Warner Brothers producing the animated DCEU universe, which he's doing a great job on, which he has been doing for so many years. Why don't they let Bruce write a Harley Quinn movie with Margot Robbie, or co-write it with James Gunn? I would be up for that. Nobody understands Harley Quinn better than Bruce Timm. So I don't think Gunn's next project is Suicide Squad 3. I don't know about the Harley Quinn thing. It will be interesting. We'll have to wait and see. If I was in charge of DC live action, as Walter Hamada is, I'd try and give the Suicide Squad IP a little bit of a break. Maybe even Harley, a little bit of a break. And let James do something else. The problem is, I don't know if James enjoys getting out of his comfort zone. He's good with groups of people. He can do serious a little bit well, but really he's a comedic CBM or comic book series kind of guy. We saw a little clip, thanks to the launch of HBO Max Europe yesterday, of Peacemaker, and I think I've got an article to read out to you about that shortly, and it's the same old thing. He only knows how to do one thing. He's a good director. His movies look great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a James Gunn hater, but I certainly don't think he's the answer to Harley Quinn's live action problems. And I also think there's a misrepresentation about the first Suicide Squad being successful because of Harley Quinn. We all thought that originally, but I don't think so. I think it was the mixture of Harley and Joker and Will Smith, who brings his fans wherever he goes. Basically, the first Suicide Squad film isn't as bad as people say it is. Keeping on the Suicide Squad theme, this is actually a very interesting article by Liam McGuire of Screen Rant. The fate of Ratcatcher is so much more twisted in DC Comics, and this is what I find disappointing. I didn't know this before seeing this article and headline, and that disappoints me, that we always go down the lighter tone with people like James Gunn, and that's a shame. And everyone seems to think this is all that comic book movies and comic book TV series should be, and that's disappointing. In the new Arkham City, the Order of the World series, the original Ratcatcher makes a surprise appearance. Unfortunately, things aren't going well. The original Ratcatcher just made a surprise reappearance in the pages of DC Comics, and the Suicide Squad villain isn't in great shape. In the debut issue of Arkham City, the Order of the World 1, Dr. Jocasta Joy is helping the Gotham Police Department round up escaped patients. Unfortunately, when she encounters Ratcatcher, she finds out that he's almost completely lost his mind. Gotham City's A-Day was one of the single most destructive moments in the city's history. Arkham Asylum and its patients were hit with an explosive blast that killed hundreds of people, including the villains Bane, Shriek and Film Freak. In its wake, Gotham Mayor Christopher Nakano would be pressured to work with Simon Saint to implement the Magistrate and the Peacekeeper Force to protect the city from masked vigilantes and criminals. In a new comic, Arkham Asylum's last remaining Dr. Jocasta Joy is tasked with helping bring in her former patients. In Arkham City, the Order of the World 1 by Dan Watters, Dan Watters, Danny, Dave Stewart and Aditya Bitikar, the comic opens with Joy visiting a young girl in her bedroom as she tries to calm her down. Joy recounts how the girl's cat had gone missing, a key detail that Ratcatcher was after her. Joy finds the knife-wielding villain hiding under the girl's bed, and when he emerges, he tells her he needs to eat the child. Unfortunately, Otis Flanagan has lost his mind, as he believes himself to be a rat, even making squeaky noises as he says Amadeus Arkham isn't looking for the creatures. Ultimately, the Gotham PD shoots Ratcatcher believing he's about to harm Joy and the young girl. However, Joy sympathises with Flanagan, who's clearly lost his mind after escaping Arkham Asylum. She suggests that Ratcatcher needs to stay in a dark and quiet room that will help him stay calm. But with Arkham Asylum not being rebuilt yet, Ratcatcher is destined for Blackgate Prison, where those accommodations aren't likely to be met. Joy believes Ratcatcher is sick and doesn't belong in prison. It's apparent the former Batman villain has struggled with his mental state after escaping Arkham Asylum, and that the structure and the treatment he received inside the psychiatric hospital were helping him fight his own demons without it. His mind is telling him he's a rat who has to eat children, considering Ratcatcher was last seen in the Suicide Squad sharing his knowledge and inspiring with Ratcatcher 2 before his drug overdose. His fate in the comics is much more twisted. Trying to eat children is a sharp turn, even for a bad guy. Arkham City, the Order of the World 1, is in comic book stores now. Yeah, the original Ratcatcher would be a very difficult character and villain to kind of write and adapt in live action DC. There's no question about that. So what did we get in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad? We got a brilliant performance by Danielle Melchior. She plays a very likeable Ratcatcher too. The problem with it is, and my problem with Hollywood when it comes to women, where they have to be displayed as positive role models rather than people with flaws and depth. And that's the political problem in Hollywood right now. You know, when we kind of get to why is she in prison, they kind of skirt over the issue. She just did a few things. She's not a bad person, really. You know, if she's in prison for a reason, right? I'd like to know the details of what she did. But they don't want to villainize her because she's a female, because they want to make her likable. And congratulations, they made her adorable and likable. It was a positive female role model, no question about it. But there's nothing wrong with a female character actually having depth and flaws, and now and again being immoral and doing the bad things, because if we didn't have that when I was growing up, we wouldn't have had characters like Joan Collins, Alexis Colby in Dynasty. These are great characters, and unfortunately the nut jobs that run Hollywood right now don't see it the way I do. But that comic sounds awesome. Peacemaker show new logo revealed. In an exclusive clip uploaded to HBO Max's YouTube channel, a new logo for the Peacemaker TV show has been revealed and features the hero's emblem by Nathan Graham Lowry of Screen Rant. And I think this is what they're talking about. I think this is the logo they're talking about anyway. In an exclusive clip uploaded to HBO Max's YouTube channel, a new logo for the Peacemaker TV show has been revealed that features the hero's emblem. The TV show will follow John Cena's titular hero following James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Steve Agee and Jennifer Holland return alongside Cena, with Gunn serving as executive producer, director and writer on the series. Created by Joe Gill and Pat Boietti in 1966, as a hero so committed to peace that he'd do whatever it takes to maintain it, Peacemaker made his cinematic debut in The Suicide Squad as part of the Amanda Waller's second team sent to destroy Project Starfish in Corto Maltese after murdering Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag, a decision I don't agree with, by the way, in an attempt to cover up the truth behind the project. Peacemaker was shot in the neck by Idris Elba's Bloodsport. Peacemaker was revealed to have survived, with the character returning in the 2022 TV series on HBO Max. And in a recently released clip, the show's new logo has finally been revealed. Uploaded to HBO Max YouTube channel, the clip showed Cena's titular character meeting with his team of Argus handlers, Holland's Amelia Harcourt and Argue's John Economos, in a dinner as they mocked the hero's car, uniform and pet eagle. The clip ended with a look at the show's new logo, which features the hero's name in bright yellow below the Max original title. The hero's dove-shaped emblem, first seen in the original comics, is featured behind the text on a worn red background, matching the emblem seen on Cena's costume. Check out the logo featured in the clip below. I've just showed it to you. Peacemaker not only promises to serve as a sequel to the Suicide Squad, this is true, according to Gunn, but will also explore the character's backstory. Gunn had previously confirmed in an interview that the show would build upon brief mentions of Peacemaker's past in the Suicide Squad, such as Waller's briefing and interactions with Bloodsport. Terminator 2 Judgment Day star Robert Patrick was previously revealed to have been cast as Augie Smith, Peacemaker's father and the man who taught him to kill. With Peacemaker set to explore the titular character's past, audiences may likely see the story behind Peacemaker's dove-shaped emblem and costume. The logo of the show itself is distinctive and to the point, pairing the hero's iconography with a warm background that promises an unclean, rough and no-holds-barred tone that audiences may expect of Gunn after the Suicide Squad. Fans will get their next glimpses of Peacemaker at the DC Fandom event, October the 6th. October the 16th, actually, get it right. Is it October the 6th? Yeah, of course it's October the 16th. Isn't it October the 6th? It's October the 6th today. Or are they just saying today's date? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm getting focused on that. Anyway, Peacemaker will be featured heavily at DC Fandom, as everything DC live action and animated and comic book related will do. Now, I saw this clip yesterday. Listen, it's not an exciting clip. He goes into the restaurant, they're all laughing at him, taking the piss out of him. They know he's got an eagle in the back of his car. And obviously Gunn is trying to make us like him. They're trying to humanise the character a lot more. I think my issue is here, he's trying desperately to make this character, you know, a standout DC live action character. And I'm not sure that he will be. Now, I like Cena's performance in the Suicide Squad. I like the character of Peacemaker, played by John Cena. And I'm excited to see Peacemaker, but this scene was just there to show us something, but it didn't show us anything substantial. And sometimes I think, if he obviously doesn't want to give the game away, but if you're just going to show us a little scene like that, it doesn't hype people up enough. So in the end, you think, well, why don't you show us a bit of action or something to wet our whistles? Nothing to spoil anything, but maybe that's part of the problem. It's supposed to be some kind of alien supernatural threat, so maybe they don't want to reveal what it is because it's that huge, and it's also connected to the interior connectivity of the DC Extended Universe, which excites me a great deal, and I can't wait to find out more about Peacemaker at DC Fandom a week this Saturday. A few months ago, it was a few months to Fandom. Now we've got just over a week. It's so exciting, and we're going to have it all covered here on Movies TV Mad, and I can't wait to bring you every bite-sized video on the 16th of October. So a few weeks ago, everyone was posting a memorandum confirming that the Joker sequel movie was coming and had been greenlit by Warner Brothers Pictures and Warner Media. And a few months ago, even The Hollywood Reporter had an article saying that a Joker sequel directed by Todd Phillips, written by Todd Phillips and starring Joaquin Phoenix was happening. Well, here's Joaquin Phoenix comments on the Joker 2 report. Joaquin Phoenix says he doesn't know if a Joker sequel is being developed, although he's interested in reprising his role as Arthur Fleck. Make of that what you will. I'll tell you what this all means after the article. This is by Saeed Fadullah Husani of Screenrant. Joaquin Phoenix has recently responded to reports regarding a Joker sequel. Todd Phillips' Joker came out in 2019, becoming an unlikely blockbuster, the first R-rated movie to gross $1 billion at the box office. Now, this is funny, actually, because everyone hypes up Deadpool. Deadpool is R-rated, isn't it? So this made more money and a bigger profit than Deadpool. No one advertises that very much, do they? The movie provided a possible origin story for Phoenix's titular character, Arthur Fleck, an unsuccessful clown whose slip into cynicism inspires a turbulent revolution in Gotham City. Starring Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, Francis Conroy, Brett Cullen, Glenn Flesher, Bill Camp, Shea Wiggum and Mark Maron. Joker received praise for its thrilling performances and cinematography. The movie earned a whopping 11 nominations at the 92nd Academy Awards, winning Best Actor for Phoenix and Best Original Score by Hilda Guduntoya. I can't say your name, I'm sorry Hilda, you're amazing, you deserve your Oscar, and Joaquin definitely put so much of himself in that movie, deserved his Oscar. 11 nominations. Name me one fucking comic book movie over at Marvel that's had 11 major nominations. You can't, can you? Since Joker was a massive success, there were some natural discussions about following up on the movie with a potential sequel. Warner Brothers, in fact, wanted the movie to spawn a new franchise called DC Black Label. Actually, that's not true. Todd Phillips had that idea, and they said, let's wait and see to see how the first movie does, which would feature experimental films different than those in the DCEU. But Phillips had reservations about continuing the story. That's not true. He actually came to them with the Black Label idea, and the idea was to do Joker, then another villain, and you know, just do offshoots. It was a great idea, which would feature experimental films different than those in the DCEU, but Phillips had reservations about continuing the story, as he had always pitched Joker to be a standalone film. Still, in November 2019, the director indicated that a sequel was possible, although it wasn't currently in development. After Phillips' comments, discussions about Joker 2 remain decidedly scant, although now rumours are rife that the film is being planned, and Phillips has even committed to writing the screenplay. Currently, there is no official word on if the speculations are true. We'll get there, don't worry, I'll clean this whole thing up for you. In a conversation with the Playlist on Tuesday, Joaquin Phoenix revealed that he doesn't know if Joker 2 is in the works. He definitely thinks that there is a lot more to explore with the character, but whether or not would a sequel happen is something he's unsure about. During the interview, Phoenix also seemed to suggest that he'd be open to reprising his role for a sequel if it happens, although he did not say that explicitly. His interest in playing an interesting character in an interesting movie could be read between the lines. Read what Phoenix said when asked if there was any truth to the Joker 2 rumours below. I mean, I don't know. From when we were shooting, we started to, this is an interesting guy. There are some things we could do with this guy and could explore further. But as to whether we actually will, I don't know. Pinocchio, love you, Joaquin, but you're fucking lying, mate. Anyway, I love him. I'm not being disrespectful. While Phillips remains reticent about a sequel, Phoenix has always been keen on navigating more stories with his character. After Joker's premiere, Phoenix told film critic Peter Travers that there was more to do with Arthur, as the possibilities of where he can go with the character are endless. Now, this is interesting. Phoenix never talks like this. He doesn't like sequels. He goes around, he does indie movies, he's fantastic. This is huge. This character has captured his imagination. I'll tell you why. It's not just that this is the Joker. Mental illness and mental health is a big thing to Joaquin. It's something that's been prevalent in his family, I think, and with him, he's had issues as well. And I think it means a lot to him, and it means a lot to me from someone who has had his bouts with mental illness and struggles with that all the time. So I think, look, after the article, I'll tell you what I think. However, there are certain artistic standards that any idea for a sequel would have to meet. Otherwise, the Gladiator actor wouldn't be so willing to return to the role. Up until last year, Phillips had not had a proper conversation. Let's say that again. Phillips had not had a proper conversation with Phoenix about Joker's future. So the notion that the actor has no knowledge about a sequel's development may actually be true. It's not true. The project may well be gestating, but perhaps it's in such an early stage where the idea of having conversations with potential talents may not have come up yet. On the other hand, however, Phoenix may know a thing or two about a Joker sequel, but a possible NDA is keeping him tight-lipped. Exactly. Whatever it is, fans will not know for sure until Todd Phillips issues confirmation that Joker 2 is definitely happening. So far, the director hasn't even indicated that a sequel is being actively planned. So there is a strong chance that the rumours are false. They're not false rumours, they're true, they come from great sources, it's happening. Fans should still wait and watch to see how the situation unfolds. Well, I'm going to tell you how the situation is going to unfold. A week on Saturday at DC Fandom, Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix, via Zoom or whatever, will tell the whole fucking world that they are developing a Joker sequel. It may take time, it may take a couple of years. I don't care. Take your time. Make the best movie possible. And for the people who don't want this, don't fucking want it. Don't watch it. If you don't want it, don't watch it. It's simple, right? Do you believe that these two are just doing a sequel to make money? No. These are artistes. You know, Todd Phillips is an auteur. Joaquin Phoenix, one of the most critically acclaimed, respected actor in the world of the art form. They will deliver something beautiful, but it goes beyond Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker doing a sequel and maybe even a trilogy. This is an important character in the future of the DC live action universe, and that may also be revealed sooner or later, maybe next March. What do I tell you guys and girls and however you identify as every single day? If you're not excited for the DC live action universe and what's to come, are you even a DC fan? Right, let's see if I can read this article because it's got a bunch of adverts all over it. It's going to be impossible. Anyway, Jeffrey Wright says Robert Pattinson is badass as Batman, exclusive by Mona Khalifi. Jeffrey Wright... Sorry, say that again. Jeffrey Wright, I'm not reading great today, am I? Jeffrey Wright is ready to lay down the law as Commissioner Gordon. Wright spoke with E.T.'s Rachel Smith about starring alongside Robert Pattinson. Say that again. Rachel Smith spoke to Robert Pattinson about the Batman and what the 35-year-old actor is bringing to the role of the Caped Crusader. Robert is going to do his thing, and we were working with a Matt Reeves vision. So you know, Robert is doing what Robert does, and it's going to be pretty badass, I think Wright said, of Pattinson's portrayal of Gotham's most famous superhero. Wright shared that their pair fed off each other to create that infamous dynamic between Batman and one of his most trusted allies. I loved working with him. I loved his take and his energy in the way that he kind of brought different levels to different parts of the story, Wright shared. And we work off of one another. I just tried to give him Gordon things and he did his Batman thing, he continued. Wright is reprising a badass character of his own as Felix Leiter in the latest James Bond film No Time to Die after being pushed back several times due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The film is hitting theatres this month. Wright spoke about working with Daniel Craig from the start of his Bond days and what it has meant for him to work on this Bond series of films. I am glad to have been on this little journey. This is the third one I have done. Right, this is just about Bond, so we just wanted to know what Wright had to say about playing Gordon and playing off of Robert Pattinson. I actually thought it was going to be a fuller article. Now you know why I always stick with Screen Rant. These others seem to have pop-ups, they go on to different subjects. It's not the type of articles I like to read to you guys. Anyway, so basically the actor is very confident about this. I think everyone is confident about this movie, and it is the next live DC action movie. So I'm just so happy that we're getting a Batman film. I know there's some controversy and some divisive responses because this was supposed to be Ben Affleck's Batman, but don't worry. Who knows what the future holds? The Batman is the next live action DC project, and I think it's going to be one of the very best. Next year is shaping up to be a great year if you're a DC fan. And finally today, you're quite safe, no more articles to read, I can't mess that up, but anyway, as you know, there's been multiple rumours suggesting that General Zod, portrayed by Michael Shannon in Man of Steel, and Faora, portrayed by a woman's name I can't read because I can't pronounce her name, but never mind. Faora and Zod from Man of Steel have been rumoured to appear in the Flash movie. Now we know Sasha Calle will play a version of Supergirl. And I've got a little theory. Now a lot of people say it's just a rumour just because Andy Muschietti, like the actress, is post blah blah blah. Well, that's kind of a big thing. Anyway, sometimes it means something and sometimes it doesn't. Anyway, while thinking about this and being really excited about the Feora and Zod rumours, I thought about this. Doesn't Sasha Calle look very similar to the actress who played Feora in Man of Steel? What if Sasha Calle's Supergirl is actually Feora's daughter? This would make a lot of sense. We don't know the basics of the Supergirl character in the Flash movie. Is she from DCEU Earth 1 before Barry enacts Flashpoint? Or is she from another multiverse? We don't know the answers to any of these questions. So let's just say she's Feora's daughter. Maybe she's Feora's and Zod's daughter. I don't know. Is she a clone? Does she come from the cloning system from Krypton, for example? Or is she a natural birth like Kal-El? This is interesting. But this is not just a theory. I genuinely believe that Sasha Calle's Supergirl is Feora's daughter. And I can't believe no one else has spoken about this before. I think it's pretty obvious. So this, if true, we don't know, this is just one of my theories that I really do believe in. If Sasha Calle's Supergirl is Feora's daughter, what could this mean? Could she be working under orders for Feora? Now, of course, she could be from an Elseworld, from another Earth. So that changes things up. What if she's from Earth 1? What if she's looking for her mother? What if she knows who her mother is? And of course, her mother Feora was banished to the Phantom Zone after Superman and the army and Lois made sure that the Phantom Zone sucked everyone up, if you can remember rightly, in the third act of Man of Steel. And she may not know that. So this may make things turn sour between her and Barry Allen. But again, I don't know where this Supergirl is. Is she in Earth 1 or is she from another Earth? Nobody actually knows. But I do think there's a huge potential here of Sasha Calle's Supergirl being Feora's daughter. This is the one thing I'd love to know your opinions about in the comments down below. Is Feora going to be in the movie? And Zod? I think they are. I believe that everyone we've seen thus far will have a little role to play in the Flash movie. I think the Flash movie is going to have an extraordinary long run time as well. This is the movie. This is the origin movie that changes everything. It is a brand new beginning for the DCEU and the DC live action universe. So yes, I do believe that Sasha Calle isn't Kara Zor-El. She isn't the main Supergirl, but she is Feora's daughter. This would make things really interesting as well, especially if this is an Earth 1 Supergirl, but she could be like another Earth Supergirl as well. Now, I've been having also the theory that Flashpoint won't be fixed in the Flash movie, and actually things will be stuck like that, giving Barry a lot of guilt about that, of course. But of course, we have seen leaked images of Barry Allen's father walking down the courthouse and being released. So that would say that my theory is wrong. But I actually think Flashpoint not being fixed in this film would be awesome and would set up an interesting, dark, exciting future for the DC live action universe and the DC extended universe. And I'd like that to happen. Whether I'm right about that or wrong about that, I definitely feel Feora may have a larger part to play in the Flash movie, especially if I'm right that she's Sasha Calle's Supergirl's mother. This would be huge, because as I said, then what kind of character does this make Sasha Calle's Supergirl? Good, evil, kind of torn between the two. She wants to be good, but she's looking for her mother. Who knows? Only time will tell. But I certainly think there's a big chance that Sasha Calle's Supergirl is Feora's mother, and we're just going to have to wait and see. Did I say that right? Let's just say that again. I do believe Sasha Calle isn't Feora's mother. I believe Feora is Sasha Calle's Supergirl mother. Let's get that right. Definitely getting my words mixed up today, and I'd love to know what you think about that. Certainly this Flash movie is a bigger entity than we ever thought, and I think it's huger. What is so astonishing is the love and respect and adoration from Andy Muschietti for Zack Snyder's work in the DCEU. And that's certainly going to be shown in the movie. This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. And I will be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss this perfection. Until tomorrow, goodbye.